Hello, everyone. This is our second class for this course, and we are going to discuss the elements and format of papers based on APA. So you notice that if you go to Purdue OWL, that you can use the syllabus, it will guide you to it online. You will find that there are two examples of papers there. There's one professional and one student. Uh, the student format is a little bit just missing a couple of items, but in this course and in all communication sciences and disorders courses, we are using the professional format and design. Because you simply do a lot of research papers and so on, and this is what we expect, particularly that this course is about how to write a paper following APA. It is not meant to be a whole research course by any means. It is mostly focusing on APA. So why is the format and why is the style important when writing a research paper? The reason is everyone follows the same format. You know where to find the title. You know where to find the different parts of the paper. And that is going to save you a lot of research, a lot of time. And also, following that consistency and following that format is going to reflect very well from the beginning. Like the first thing that I look at, and I'm sure many of my colleagues do, is when you take that paper, you look at say for example, the title page, you look at the format in a whole, as a whole. Are there subtitles? Are they their headings, sections, section titles? Are there reference lists? And so on. Are there references cited in the text? So if these are missing from the beginning, I would save my time. I would that paper doesn't meet the minimum, the basic requirements. So it has to follow this APA format and style. And then we look at the content. Because if someone didn't care about, say, the format and the style, these are the basic requirements, how are they going to present the major of the content? So it from the beginning, the format is gonna give an indication that you know what you are doing, that you are following the right procedures, that you actually care to go and check your paper and your work before submitting it and so on. So the minimum requirements for the elements of the professional research paper are a title page, an abstract, a text or a body, and a reference list. In APA, we do not call it anything other than references. Please do not call it bibliography. Don't call it call it references at the end. And I will show you a professional paper here that we will be referring to quite often. So here, that paper, I want to say it is the spacing and the margins and so on are not meant to be true margins. The reason is that paper is put in the review mode so that you can see the margins, you can see the comments. But I'm going to tell you about the dimensions and the spacing and all of this in time. But for now, here is a title page. Title page. Why do we call it title page? Because it has the title of your paper. The title is your most important piece of your work, whether that's a book, that is an article, that's a paper. It is the most important piece. And if the title is not phrased well, it will not, it just creates a mismatch between the content and what you are telling people that they will be reading about. So the title is a condensed summary of the content. It is you have every single word of it must count. The less the number of words, the better. So now here's the title, and you notice it is bold, and you notice also that there's a space above, say this is this running head, and you notice the running head is all capitalized. All of it is capitalized, and you put it in the margin. Please do not call it running head. Just this, if you have a format and it says running head, it means put your running head here, but do the word running head. So this is a novel teacher evaluation model. You notice branching paths, a novel teacher evaluation model. The running head can be a part, the most important part of your title, and it doesn't have to be the complete title, but it has to give like the most valuable piece. You can rephrase it a little bit, or you can take a piece of the title. So you need to know the differences. What is a title? What is a heading? What is a subtitle? And so on. So first, this is the running head, and it has to be all capitalized. The title of the paper, it is centered, it is bold. You notice it begins with an initial here capitalized. All the initials are capitalized except for prepositions. Here, branching paths. That's the general title. So suppose you see a paper is a branching paths, and then say, what does that mean? What is this about? Then there are two dots. This is the colon, and there's a subtitle, secondary title, to branch out of that. So what do we speak about? We are going to see something branching, some people separating, or something just is going to be divided. What is that? So a novel teacher evaluation model for faculty development. So that is your subtitle. It refines the main title. So that means now we are doing evaluations of a certain source, certain kind. Now let's just leave these evaluations, the old way of doing things, and just find the new way, branching paths. So that now is what you're going to read about in this paper. So, but not all papers have to have a main title and a subtitle. If you just take the main title, branching paths, and the two dots out, and you leave this, that will be your title, a novel teacher evaluation model for faculty development. So again, what comes after the colon is the subtitle, and that is kind of gives more detail about the main title if that main title is too broad. You notice it is 2 to 3 spaces below the margin, below the top margin, and then you skip you skip 2 spaces. You put your name in this manner, and as one person, of course, you don't have to worry about this too much. But then the department that you are in, we are not a department yet. We are a program, communication sciences and disorders program within the Department of Health and Kinesiology. So our department is Health and Kinesiology, and our college is the College of Community and Urban Health. So then below this, you are going to have and go down, and a few spaces below the bottom of the page, you have the author note. And they write, for example, if you want to correspond with me, do this and do that. And they write to give their information here. So that is your title page. It doesn't have content. It doesn't detail anything, just the title and your name and the authors. And the running head is for the whole paper. And here, please read these comments step by step. It gives you all that's in your textbook. All of that is explained in context step by step. So then you go down, and you are gonna find the abstract page. The abstract, there is no space between the margin. You see again the running head here again, and no space between the top margin and the abstract, the title abstract, except for just one irregular space. And the paper has to be all double space throughout. The double distance, the space between one line and the other. You notice that the abstract doesn't have any indentation, just one block, and that block is a condensed summary of the entire paper. The purpose, why are you writing it? What is it going to be about? So, and the abstract, the title of the abstract is bold, and it starts with a capital letter, but that's the only thing, one capital letter. The only piece in your paper that in the format is that is all caps is the running head. So then an abstract could have keywords. Actually, the keywords have to, you can think when you are gonna use design keywords, think of yourself. Let's say you are going to search a topic on, for example, the relationship between wearing, let's say, polyester versus cotton, the effect of this on the skin, for example. So what are you going to look for? You are going to have to look for keywords to put into the search window so that you can find it. The better the keyword is, the better the chance for you to find what you're looking for. So you need to think of yourself as, at this time, as a reader or as a researcher looking for a research paper on this, and your research paper is the one that that person is looking for. So what words, what keywords should they use to locate your research paper and identify it from among thousands and hundreds and thousands of papers out there? So then here is, even though it is gonna, in this page here, it will be page 3, technically, this is your first page of the content, your first page of the body of the text. And it is a must that the very top of it must have the title again. So there are 2 places you notice in the guidelines that if you miss the title is not on this page, the person will lose quite a lot of points just for missing that. So the title again is bold, it is centered, and the running head is throughout the entire paper. I mean, you put it once, it will automatically put it throughout the paper. So then you notice there are all double spaces, but the first, I mean, every paragraph is indented by 0.5, by half an inch. And please go thoroughly read, look at this and read the margins here and see how things are supposed to be. All the rules in your textbook are taken and put here, so you see them in context. You see them like hands-on. You notice the title, only the words again, the initials are capitalized, and the small words are not capitalized except for if you have a subtitle here, like a novel teacher, and that subtitle, you can see that the colon means what comes after it is a subtitle. The first word of the subtitle is capitalized, the initial. So it doesn't matter what matter if it is a preposition. If not, it is like you are writing a new title. So here, this is why the A is capitalized. But look at the word for, it is not capitalized. Number one, it's a smaller word. Number two, it's a preposition, and you don't capitalize prepositions. Now, you see now, writing has to be in paragraphs. Please do not write papers that are just blocks and blocks and blocks of things. A paragraph discusses one idea. See, one sentence is made to reflect one idea. The paragraph discusses a main idea. A paragraph between maybe 8 sentences, 5 sentences, 12 sentences. The smaller the paragraph, I mean, the medium-sized paragraph would be best. But a paragraph cannot be less than 3 sentences. If you find you have 3, for example, you are summarizing an assignment, and like say I give you 2 paragraphs to summarize, and then one of them comes to 2 sentences, you need to blend it with the next one, and then you need to find another way to connect both of these into under a major idea. So, but let's look at just at the formats here. So now we have the title. You notice that it gets directly into this is actually your introduction. The introduction of that paper here discusses the whole paper in general, but then you keep going down, and after this, the kind of review of the research and then your paper purpose and so on, then you come down and you're gonna find here another you find another title here, literature review, and under it is gonna be this is actually a heading. So effective teaching, a contextual construct. This is your first heading, and the heading can have a subtitle as well. So you notice again, it is not all in caps, only the first words of it, and it is bold. There are section titles that I'm going to show you, but the headings must be on the left side. They are not indented, just are on the left side. So then a title, a heading should have at least a couple of paragraphs under it when you make it headings. And then so as you keep down, you find a lot of headings. Every heading tells you about a big section of the paper. So then you keep coming down the middle. Where is it? Here. So materials and methods. So this now is a title, but in the body of the paper, that is a section title. Section title. So if you have a section title, at least below it, at least you need to have one paragraph to speak about the whole section, what this section is about, and so on, and to connect it to the previous, what you have discussed. So for example, this section proposes a pilot study that will complete blah, 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 and it is referring to the previous work that was done here, and then it guides us to what is going to be said. But you still, when you have whatever title you have, you're going to have headings again under that. So the paper that you are going to do doesn't have section titles, it just uses titles and headings. You notice at the very end, you are going to find the list of references. This will be available online. It's available, you can access it on Purdue OWL, but I just am going to also include it. The references here, you do not call them reference list, you don't call them, and just references, and centered, and references have to begin on a page by themselves. Even if you have 3 or 4, it has to be a page by itself. There is a specific, particular way of writing a reference and of formatting it, and in a system you have to follow this exactly as it is. you have examples, and grading your work is going to be mechanical. Do you have this? Do you not have that? And there is no surprise. So when you come and say, oh, I lost this point, I'm going to go and say, okay, go to this example, and you will find that the date is right after the last author, and it is followed by a period. In your reference entry, you did not do this, and you lost this point. So there are no surprises. If someone loses a point, it is because they did not follow the instructions. So anyways, you notice that the reference list only includes references that you mentioned in the text. You mentioned this in the text, and it doesn't include anything other than what you mentioned in the text. So if I go here, for example, I go up there, I should be able to find Ambadi and Rosenthal, 1993, cited in the text, and that you have taken information from that and told me just briefly, this is from Ambadi and Rosenthal to 1993. Then you come here and you put the entire publication with the references. So if I go to a library physically or to go online, I should retrieve the same study and will be able to see every word that is there. And I should open page 431 and find that the title begins there, and go to 441. That is the last page of that publication. So please follow this really, really well and accurately. You notice also why I mentioned it is because this is not an article or a book, for example. It is a particular publication that appears weekly or monthly, for example. So every kind of source has its own unique way of being documented. So this is as far as to it. So title page includes the paper title, the author's name, affiliation means who are you working for, or where are you working? Are you a student? Are you, and so on. The abstract is the condensed summary, and the text, the body, and then the body is divided into sections. Each section has its own title, and you might, if it doesn't have sections, then you have a title and headings. Every heading discusses a major idea, and in detail. So again, these are the student paper requirements that are missing a couple of details, but we require the professional formatting, because some of you will be traveling to Asia to present, for example. Some students hopefully will be traveling to Asia to present in the fall. So we are doing some good research. So the title is really important because it sums up the entire idea of the paper, and in a manner that attracts the reader, if possible. So you have to really, for example, when I want to write plan a presentation or a paper, I write maybe 12 titles, and I spend a few days eliminating, mixing these two, and so on. It takes a lot of time to come up with the title. The less the number of words, the better. And you want that title to be so focused that whoever reads it is going to have a complete idea, or a really good idea about what this paper is going to focus on. Some journals require word count, like for example ASHA and other journals. The subtitles, you know them as part of the main title or a heading, but they are preceded by a colon. For example, say this is a title of a paper here. For example, voice disorders. Okay, that's a big topic. Then you put a colon, colon, and say a neurological perspective. So I know now that this paper is focusing just on the neurology of voice disorders, and that makes a big difference. So, and you notice the A is capitalized, and then the subtitle follows the same capitalization rules as the main title. So I explained this. I do not need to to go over this again because I'm limited to 55 minutes here for this video, and so the title or your paper in general, but more than anything else, the title cannot have any redundant words. We will discuss redundancy and how to eliminate it at some point in the class. So it should not have words like methods or results or study of or experimental investigation of, because that is all part of the body and it will be. But your goal is to condense, to present a capsule of the entire content, all the content of the article in a single sentence or as in a few words. And remember, the title of the paper has to be placed in two places. And if you miss it on the body, on the text of the body, you will lose a big chunk of the grade. You can go back, go to the guidelines, and go to the rubric, and you will see that if missing the title in that location particularly, it will cost you several points. So I explained all of this, and you can just follow the spacing and where it is, and you find an example here, and so I can avoid having the video interrupted before I complete what I have planned. The page numbers are placed on the top right. So we do the pagination, that is always top right. The running head is an abbreviated form of the title. It doesn't have to be exactly the same words. It can be part of the title. Just take it and put it there. But you stop it when you don't have space enough room there. So you just put as a few that will fit into half of the margin of the page, and again you want to capture the basic idea of that title. It doesn't have to have the same words, and it can be rephrased. It has to be all caps, and it cannot have abbreviations. For example, SLPs, NATO, it can't have abbreviations. It can't have abbreviations from the title. So it can use ampersand instead of and. That is allowed. You should not include the label, the word running head. Frequently I get papers says running head, and then it puts it. No, running head is put there for you to say, put your running head here. Like when you design a PowerPoint, put this here. So you need to do not include that, please. The abstract, it has to be comprehensive. It has to be condensed and brief. I gave you an assignment, or I will be posting it, to focus on condensing content, while capturing the main idea of that content in less words. So generally, it doesn't exceed 250 words. As a standard, 300 words fill one page, double space. So an abstract shouldn't exceed 250, and most places require just a 100-word abstract. It includes keywords, and it includes search tools. For example, when coining keywords, you need to think how your reader is going to locate your paper from among hundreds and thousands of papers out there. So you have to find something unique, something that's going to be new, and also it points to the field that the person is looking in. The formatting for keywords is half-inch indentation, and they are italicized, and all are in lowercase. They are separated by commas, and if the second line is required, that line is not indented. So there is no period at the end. So again, you see this in action. Go back to the example I just showed, and you will see that the abstract follows exactly these rules. Where is it? If I can find it. And the computer is a little bit slow. So here's again the abstract. There's no indentation. You notice the keyword, the word it says keywords italicized. And if you need another page, you just follow just like as if it's like indented like a paragraph. And all keywords are separated by commas. And there is no period at the end. So in terms of the body of the text, or the text itself, that is the major piece of the work. So journals, or papers have different ways of organizing the body, as long as you have it within, you have it as part of the main content. So usually we ask students to write an outline, to say, get the title, put headings, and under each heading, what are you going to speak about? But the headings you yourself develop. For example, let's say quickly, I'm going to make write a paper on the effects of middle ear infections on children's early language development. So I have two elements now. I want to say what ear infections are. I want to say what early language development is. And then I want to say how this affects this. So I'm going to make two sections. The nature of ear infections. That is a section. And that will have headings. So what am I going to speak about? And then the second section is going to be language development in children, or nature of early language development in children. And then I have a third section, effects of middle ear infections on language development. So let's say, for example, I look at middle ear infections. I'm going to make a heading that will say, generally, I have, because I have sections, and the section has a main title centered. So I'm going to say, summarize in one paragraph everything about middle ear infections. Middle ear infections comes in different ways, different forms. It affects children during this and that stage. It has a devastating impact on the development of language and speech, blah, blah, blah. That is a basic paragraph. Then I'm going to start to unpack that. And then I'm going to speak, for example, and say causes of middle ear infections. Frequency, like what do you call it, demographics. Who is affected by this? When are they? And so on. And then I'm going to have another heading that says types of middle ear infections. There is, for example, there is serous middle ear infections. There is acute middle ear infections, different kinds. So that is what we mean by you have if you have sections, you have a section title, and you have headings under it, and all of that summarizes that title of that section. And then you do the same for everything else. So that is a format that headings are determined by the nature of your topic and the nature of how you want to organize the ideas of your topic. And the better organized they are, the better that they will appeal to the reader, and that they will make the reader understand your point. So most of the papers include an introduction, but that introduction comes right under the main title. You do not need to call it introduction, just get into it and then start with the headings. So again, this is determined by the nature of your topic. When you speak about quantitative research, when you speak about numbers and frequencies and stuff like that, and you do data analysis, then you need to speak about methods, you speak about the results and the discussion. So you divide that in that format. We discussed this in the previous class. But in the assignment you have, you do not have that requirement. The qualitative papers include, for example, findings. They say the findings of the paper show this and that instead of results. You may have various types of headings, for example, depending on the nature of the content, but under the qualitative, instead of saying for example results, you just say findings from the research on philosophical interpretations of blah 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 show. But results, you need numbers, you need solid things. Student response papers may not have any headings. That is not our concern, because you are not writing response papers here. So how is the body formatted? So formatting is about spacing, about where do you put this, how many spaces do you do. So you start a new page after the title, and so first you have a title page. We discussed that. You have an abstract page. We discussed that. Your page number 3 is going to be the first content page, the first page of the body. And you start with your title on top of that page, centered and bold. So you have to write in paragraphs, and the paragraphs are indented by a 1/2 inch to the left. The paragraphs, again, the idea is that you discuss a main idea in one paragraph, and as you switch, you go to the next one, you kind of, as you conclude that one paragraph, you make a transition that leads you to the next paragraph, and you go on. So all pages of the paper must be double spaced. Headings should sum up the content, just like titles. You just don't choose headings randomly. Like when I said middle ear infections, or the nature, for example, of middle ear infections, that everything under that is going to be about that idea. You must show, again, good organizational structure, and you do this by choosing good headings and organizing your paragraphs. You should not start a new page if the heading stands alone on the bottom of a page. So, for example, if the heading stands alone on the bottom of the page, you shouldn't just bring it into the next page. You should just go directly, just click the bar button and just go down, and there should be no spaces after paragraphs or between paragraphs, no spaces above or below the headings, no spaces, no extra spaces below or above the if you use section titles. So pay attention to the spacing. Do not call, again, the reference list, do not call it anything other than references. If you have had APA MLA, forget it. You are now in speech language pathology. You are gonna use APA for your entire life. We do not use any other kind of manual for writers of research. The purpose of the reference list is, number one, to provide a reliable way for your reader to trace back the information to its original source. So you make a claim, you say something in your paper, you say, and you refer me, you say, this is my source. Maybe the information is not accurate, or maybe I'm very interested in maybe writing another paper or discussing something about the same topic. I need to go back to your reference. So it enables us to find the source and to check to make sure what you are writing is accurate and valid, etc. To also, we put references to acknowledge the previous scholars. We give them credit, because we can't take their ideas, steal them, and not claim. If we do not cite them, we are stealing their work. We are claiming that what we are saying is our own, and that's a big mistake anyone could make. To document and provide evidence to support the ideas of the paper. Why this is important? Suppose that you conduct a study showing maybe that, for example, smoking has an effect on stuttering. So now someone is going to take your paper and the results as they are, and they're going to go and do another study, and they will build upon your work. And another person is going to take from that person, and then you'll find that your work is like a foundation. But if someone finds out that the data you reported is false, your paper and every paper written on the basis of it, that is going to be just knocked down. So there was a few years someone at Harvard who they discovered that he was manipulating data, and that person just was gone, and his entire career was demolished. And so it is a big deal. And acknowledging your references is going to strengthen, it's going to be a better thing for your paper. It will make it more credible, more reliable, better. It shows that you are well read, and so on. So just as data in a paper is used to strengthen points that you make, your references are used to substantiate and to validate the points of your paper. So I have evidence. You go back, say, start with an idea, say, for example, smoking has a devastating impact on every part of your life, every aspect of your life. For example, and then you cite something from, this author, so-and-so found or showed. And so you start with an idea, and then you take something from a well-established researcher, and you give that as evidence. And then you come to the next idea, and then you go on cite as evidence. So the papers do not have to use exhaustive references. You can write, say, for example, a paper out of 5 or 6 or 7 sources, but you could also, the more the better. In the course, you are going to have 7 references. I will be posting all this material tomorrow. So each reference cited within the body must be included in the list. So one reference that I do when I grade your paper is I go and say, okay, I write down every one that you cited, and I go back, say you have 7 authors there. I go down to the reference list. The 7 authors should be in the list, no one else. It should include no less, no more than what you cited inside of the body of your text. So overall format, the paper should start on a new page. For example, the title, the text, the body, starts in a new page by itself. Then the reference list, even if the end of your body of your paper comes like in the top third of the paper and there's a big space below, no, you have to start a new page for the reference list. It should come after the end of the text, but on a new page. The title should be centered. The title of the word references should be centered with capitalized initial, and all references should be in double space with a 1/2 inch hanging indentation. And once you do it once for one, it will do it for the rest. References listed are listed in alphabetical order, and the formatting of individual reference types. Again, we'll discuss it later, but there is a way to make an entry for a book, an entry for an article, an entry for a magazine, a website, you name it. Every type of reference has its own way. In here, we are focusing on articles, we are focusing on books, because these are the, and maybe we can use some website at some point, but these are the main things that you are going to be using a lot. And then if you come use other things, you just go to the manual and find out. So the format is really important and can enhance or detract from your paper. It makes your paper look professional. And if there are any mechanical flaws, and it points right there that this paper is not going to be good. It shows incompetence, it shows carelessness, and it questions the content itself. It will make the reader question your expertise or the attention to detail. So it can cause your reader or your reviewer to misinterpret the content. So you really may, have to focus a lot on this. The format, you need to have, let's see how much time I have here. Can't tell. The font has to be, you can do Times New Roman. That's kind of frequently used. However, if you use Times New Roman in academic papers, that's the most widely used. Then you need to use a 12 font. If you are gonna use any of the APA compatible these are all the APA compatible fonts, you can use Calibri. You should use 11. Arial 11. Georgia 11. If you use Compute Modern, which is really rare, it has some key features, you use 10. But the most common again is Times New Roman. Calibri comes next. Arial comes actually after Times New Roman Calibri. So any one of these, as long as if you choose one, use the right format, size of the font. Papers use word count. They do not use numbers of pages. So every time we say, okay, write me a paper that goes between 900 or to 12 or whatever. So double spacing is required for the whole paper, except in some exceptions, maybe a couple of exceptions. Required for the abstract, the body, for the headings, for the quotations. If you block quotations, mean if you have more than a quotation, more than 40 words or more, 40 words or more that are together taken as a block, that has to be indented, centered, and also double spaced. Reference lists must also be double spaced. So the general rule is that the double space, there's a double spacing between lines. These are the exceptions. Line spacing, the title page requires one additional double space between the title and the byline. Byline means say, for example, by you, or who wrote that article. But you don't say by, you just say Samantha Smith and whoever. So that is the byline.